Jaya Gopi Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunasiravanachari Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallava Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Sutra His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Sutra His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai. Ananta Goti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Jai. Sankirtan Yagya Ki. Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, good morning, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you all. Just gonna find the spot we're at for the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. So this chapter of the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita is entitled New Jagannath Puri. Prabhupada had decided to ask Upendra. Oops, sorry, I think they read that yesterday, so this is where we are here. Okay. One day, when Upendra was alone with Prabhupada in his room, Prabhupada asked, "You are living with a young girl and people who take intoxicants?" For the first time, Upendra was convinced that Swamiji could read his mind and knew his entire life. Yes, Upendra admitted, but I'm not having. Srila Prabhupada interrupted. That is not good. Swamiji, I'm not having any sexual connections. Where there is a boy and where there is a girl, Prabhupada said, there is. You must come and live with me. Upendra was delighted. Yes, I'll come immediately. He took a few belongings from his apartment, left everything else with his girlfriend, and moved into the front room of Prabhupada's apartment. He was now Swamiji's personal servant. Prabhupada requested him to keep his job at the post office. Around midnight, as soon as Upendra got off work, he would return to the apartment. Prabhupada always left the door unlocked for him. Usually, soon after Upendra locked the door, crawled into his sleeping bag, and fell asleep, he would be awakened by Prabhupada speaking into his dictating machine, composing teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Upendra would nod off again and sleep until 6. Upendra relished this close association with his spiritual master and became always cheerful. I just want to be Swamiji's dog, he would often tell the other devotees. One time, Upendra was reading to himself from Srimad Bhagavatam. The whole subject matter is so presented through the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami that any sincere audience who will lend his ears submissively to this message of the transcendental world will at once relish the transcendental mellows distinguished from the perverted mellows of the material world. The ripened fruit is not dropped all of a sudden from the highest planet of Krishna Loka, but has come down carefully, being handled by the chain of disciplic succession, without any change or disturbance in the formation of the soft and ripened fruit. You don't have any questions? Prabhupada asked. Upendra looked up from the book. No, Swamiji, I accept everything you say. Prabhupada began rocking strongly in his rocking chair and smiled as Upendra kept reading. Then Prabhupada taught Upendra the proper way to hold a book while reading, with the palms of both hands up and off the lap. This advice gave Upendra greater enthusiasm to please his spiritual master by reading his books. Upendra was still bothered by sexual desires. He thought that maybe he could get married, but he was confused about what a Krishna conscious marriage was supposed to be. How could you be married? He puzzled. If you don't love the girl you want to marry, how could you love her without having sex with her? He wanted to ask Swamiji about this, but he kept it to himself, waiting for an opportunity and for the courage. Then one day he entered Prabhupada's room as Prabhupada paced back and forth from one end of the room with its 3 large bay windows overlooking Frederick Street to the other end where his rocking chair sat. Now, Upendra decided he could ask his question. Swamiji, he began, may I ask a question? Yes, Srila Prabhupada replied, stopping his pacing. If a boy is separate from a girl, then how can he learn to love her? Prabhupada began to walk back and forth again, chanting on his beads. After a moment, he turned and softly said, love is for Krishna. And he walked toward the window and looked out at the street below. You want a girl? Pick one. He pointed toward some woman passing on the street. There is no love in this material world, he said. Love is for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 30th chapter, text 4. We're almost at the end of this canto. 2 more chapters to go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dasha Varsha Sahasrante Purushastu Sanatanaha Teshamavira Bhutkritram Shantena Shamayan Rucha Dasha Varsha Sahasrante Purushastu Sanatanaha Teshamavira Bhutkritram Shantena Shamayan Rucha Dashavrisha Sahasrante Purushastu Sanatanaha Tesham Avira Bhutkritram Shantena Shamayan Rucha. Vaishnavas. Dashavasha Sahasrante Purushastu Sanatanaha Tesham Avira Bhutkritram Shantena Shamayan Rucha. Dashavrisha Sahasrante Purushastu Sanatanaha Tesham Avira Bhutkritram Shantena Shamayan Rucha. Dashavasha Sahasrante Purushastu Sanatana Teshamavira Bhutkricham Shantena Shamayanucha. Vaishnavis. Dashavarsha Sahasrante Purushastu Sanatana Teshamavira Bhutkricham Shantena Shamaranrucha Dasha Sahanshante Purushastu Sanatanaha Tesham Avira Budkritcham Shantena Shamaranrucha Dasha 10 years. And Purusha, the Supreme Person. 2. Then Sanatanaha, eternal. Tesham, of the Prachetas. Avirabhut, appeared. Kricham, the severe austerity. Shantena, satisfying. Shamayan, mitigation. Translation of Prabhupada by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. At the end of 10,000 years of severe austerities performed by the Prachetas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to award the austerities, appeared before them in his very pleasing form. This appealed to the Prachetas and satisfied the labor of their austerities. Purport. Performing 10,000 years of severe austerities does not seem a happy endeavor. Yet the devotees, the serious students of spiritual life, undergo such austerities to attain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At that time, when the duration of life was very long, people could undergo severe austerities for thousands of years. It is said that Valmiki, the author of Ramayana, underwent meditational austerities for 60,000 years. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appreciated the austerities undergone by the Prachetas, and he finally appeared before them in a pleasing form. Thus, they all became satisfied and forgot the austerities they underwent. In the material world, if one is successful after hard labor, he is very pleased. Similarly, the devotees forget all his labors and austerities as soon as he contacts the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Dhruva Maharaj was only a 5-year-old boy, he underwent severe austerities by eating simply dry foliage, drinking only water, and taking no food. The Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. When he saw the Lord, he forgot all his austerities and said, Svamin Kritatosmin, my dear Lord, I am very pleased. Of course, these austerities were performed in the Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Treta Yuga, but not in this age of Kali. In this age of Kali, one can attain the same results simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Are fallen, the Lord is kind enough to give them the easiest method. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can attain the same results. However, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu points out, we are so unfortunate that we are not even attracted to chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translation again. At the end of 10,000 years of severe austerities performed by the Prachetas, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to award their austerities, appeared before them in his very pleasing form. This appealed to the Prachetas and satisfied the labor of their austerities. Om Angyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Wow. I wasn't expecting Srila Prabhupada Limamrita to be so racy this morning. But I did really appreciate reading that section of it, especially this one part about their reading together the Srimad Bhagavatam. The whole subject matter was so presented through the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami that any sincere audience who will lend his ears submissively to the message of the transcendental world will at once relish the transcendental mellows, distinguished from the perverted mellows of the material world. And I thought it's interesting that they were reading this, that by just appreciating the Srimad Bhagavatam through the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami and presented, of course, by Srila Prabhupada in his purports, that just by listening and hearing submissively this message of the transcendental world, we can forget and distinguish from these perverted mellows. And I thought it was interesting, the next part of this section, the distinguishing features that Prabhupada was pointing out. You know, look outside, pick a girl, but that's not love. What you're looking for is love, then you have to look for Krishna, which is the distinguishment between the spiritual world and the material world. So there's this interesting point that they had just been reading this, and then these questions popped up for Upendra, and they were clarified quickly by Srila Prabhupada very decisively. And this is connected to what we're reading to today, because this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, I'm just going to keep this open for some inspiration. The section of the Srimad Bhagavatam about the prachetas is an amazing example of the effectiveness of following the parampara. And in the previous verses, Srila Prabhupada points this out in his purports. He explains that the prachetas were successful because they followed the instructions of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva, he had met with them as they were about to perform their austerities, and he instructed them to recite prayers that he had written for the Supreme Lord. And Srila Prabhupada explains that by following Lord Shiva's instructions or following the parampara, that the prachetas were successful of achieving the highest perfection. Says here, by the grace of Lord Shiva, the prachetas actually attained perfection and returned home back to Godhead after enjoying material facilities to the highest extent. And then in the next purport, Srila Prabhupada explains this point further. So Lord Shiva is one of the great demigods within this material world. Generally, his blessings are bestowed upon ordinary people for material happiness. But in this particular situation, Lord Shiva, he was acting as a devotee of the Lord. And so the prachetas were transferred to the spiritual world. And he also explains that one can offer prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly, but if one repeats the prayers offered by great devotees like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma, or if one follows in the footsteps of great personalities, one can please the Supreme Personality very easily. So I was thinking about these points, and as well, the 2 points that stood out in the purport that we just read was that this point around how performing thousands of years of austerities. But even if we just think about the and you experience the effects of yeah, feeling rejuvenated, purified, refreshed. And so similarly, when we go out and we distribute Srila Prabhupada's books and we're in line with the orders and instructions of the Parampara, we can experience the shower of mercy, which feels purifying and refreshing and rejuvenating. So it's there for everyone to take shelter of. It's a simple and easy process that really works. And so it's just about facing that part within us that is either holding us back or not believing that we have the opportunity when it's all around us every day at any at any moment. I was thinking about this verse. Sorry, just one moment. It's from Srila Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Devotion. Anya bilashita shunyam janma karmani anavritam anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttamam. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. And we know that if we engage in devotional service with this unmotivated, uninterrupted consciousness, that it's the only thing that really satisfies the soul, so satisfies the heart. And it's amazing because even as a neophyte devotee, we can experience glimpses of that. For instance, when on Sankirtan or doing other services, we can become absorbed and it can feel unmotivated. You're not doing it for any personal pleasure. You're doing it for Krishna's pleasure, and your senses are engaged. And that absorption and it being uninterrupted by anything, it allows you to go deeper and experience a spiritual consciousness that is so satisfying to the heart. And it's actually quite addictive. I know that it's kind of interesting, like the mind will keep us from possibly engaging in a service. But if we can get over that and actually engage in the service, we become so absorbed and sort of addicted to it that you don't want to stop doing it, even if other things start happening and you need to go. For instance, yesterday when I was on books, my daughter was laying on the floor in the mall and I really needed to go, but I really didn't want to go. And it's interesting, that feeling like that kind of come over us, that this is enjoyable. Like I feel a deep sense of pleasure in an activity that doesn't actually materially make any sense to me, like why I should be getting these feelings. But because we're following the parampara and we're doing this service humbly in the proper mood, then Krishna is attracted. I was reading actually just the other night. It's so nice. I'll just open it up in the Krishna book. And I really enjoy this chapter of Krishna book called Krishna Enters Mathura. Sometimes I'll meditate upon this chapter because it seems like, Krishna's coming in and just taking over. And I think about his attitude and his personality and his beauty and how everyone's becoming captivated. And the entire scene is being transformed by his presence. And he's very funny, and the things he does are just extraordinary, just something you'd never expect. And then by just I guess visualizing this in my mind, I can think like this is how he's taking over my heart as well, and think like as Krishna's entering Mathura, I'm allowing him to enter my heart in the same way, like just taking it over. Like I can imagine him picking up like weird desires that I have and be like, no, like what's this? Like kill that elephant of, I don't know, desire that doesn't belong here. And but the thing that really stood out that I wanted to connect back to this point was when he was entering Mathura. Of course, there were many things that happened. Somehow got out of that one part. But the thing that was so beautiful is at the very end of this chapter, he meets a devotee who offers him these beautiful garlands. Of course, there was the washerman who he decapitated with his hand and cut off his head because he wouldn't allow him to, he wouldn't offer Krishna his clothes. But then once he was very nicely dressed, he was welcomed by a florist. So I'll just read you this section. The florist very humbly and submissively offered his prayers to the Lord, saying, "My dear Lord, because you have come to my place, I think all my forefathers and all my worshipful superiors are pleased and delivered. My dear Lord, you are the supreme cause of all causes. of this cosmic manifestation, but for the benefit of the residents of this earthly planet, you have appeared with your plenary portion to give protection to your devotees and annihilate the demons. You are equally disposed as the friend of all living entities. You are the supersoul, and you do not discriminate between friend and enemy. Yet you are pleased to give your devotees a special result of their devotional activities. My Lord, I am praying that you please tell me whatever you wish for me to do, because I am your eternal servant. If you would order me to do something, it would be a great favor to me. The florist Sudama was greatly pleased within his heart by seeing Krishna and Balaram in this place, and thus, as his choicest desire, he made 2 exquisite garlands of various flowers and presented them to the Lord. Krishna and Balaram were very much pleased with his sincere service, and Krishna offered the florist his salutation and benedictions, which he is always prepared to bestow upon the surrendered soul. When the florist was offered benedictions, he begged from the Lord that he might remain his eternal servant in devotional service, and by such service do good to all living creatures. By this, it is clear that a devotee of the Lord in Krishna consciousness should not be satisfied simply by his own advancement in devotional service. He must be willing to work for the welfare of others. This example was followed by the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. It is therefore stated in a prayer about them, Lokanam hitakarino. Vaishnavas or devotees of the Lord are not selfish. Whatever benefits they derive from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as benedictions, they want to distribute to all other persons. That is the greatest of all humanitarian activities. Being satisfied with the florist, Lord Krishna not only gave him whatever benedictions he wanted, but over and above that, he offered him all material opulences, family prosperity, and a long duration of life, and whatever else his heart desired within the material world. I really appreciated this point because Krishna was satisfied simply by just receiving a few garlands, and he was happy to award him not only liberation, but like fulfill all of his desires. And the Lord is so magnanimous, and he's so attracted just by the humble offering, the simple service, um, and the love. So, this florist, he brought out his best flowers. He, strung them with devotion, and he garlanded them with great love. And then the next chapter, the example is also given by, I think her name is Kucha. Yeah, so the next chapter is called Breaking the Bow, but it explains that Krishna, he wanted to cut a joke with a hunchback woman to satisfy his friend's sense of humor. And so he addressed her as tall young woman and asked, "Who are you?" Even though she's hunchback. And I think he was just trying to make his friends laugh. But in this part, it again gives an example that she was carrying sandalwood pulp. And with great satisfaction and devotion, she smeared it on the bodies of Krishna and Balaram. And Srila Prabhupada explains they're naturally very, very beautiful, but when she had put this ointment on their body, their complexions looked even more beautiful. And Krishna was so pleased with her service, he began to consider how to award her. And in this part, Srila Prabhupada, he explains, in other words, in order to draw the attention of the Lord, the Krishna conscious devotee has to serve him in great love and devotion. Krishna cannot be pleased by any action other than transcendental loving service onto him. So I just thought to bring up these examples. These are Krishna's pastimes. He's personally bestowing these benedictions. He's being personally served. And we're here in the material world and we're trying to reach him. So it's only through and by learning to serve Krishna the way he's desiring to be served that we can actually please him. And then when he's pleased, he's so happy to bestow these benedictions. And for a devotee, it's not that, pure devotees are interested in getting a benediction, but they're interested in pleasing Krishna. And so just by that alone, our hearts are pleased and our minds are pleased, and we feel peaceful here in this material world. And we have hopes after experiencing a touch of Krishna consciousness that there's a place for us after this world awaiting us in the spiritual world, where we can remember and serve Krishna in these ways, these personal ways. So those are some of the points that I thought to bring up today that stood out from this section of the Bhagavatam, because the Prachetas, they went through so much to try to please the Lord, and we're so lucky we actually can please him through our Acharya's instructions, which are very, very simple. And if there's a possibility of pleasing the Supreme Lord, we can become so happy. And we all want to be happy. So I guess it's just about remembering that Krishna, he's not hard to please. He's just a person who has particular way and desire of being served, which is very natural. And our acharyas know him. So if we follow them, then we can understand better how to serve him. So I'll stop there. And if anyone would like to add any comments, Hare Krishna, or if you have any questions, I can try my best to answer. Or if there was anything that stood out or anything that you thought of when you were reading this part of the Bhagavatam, feel free to share. Everyone's fully satisfied, maybe hungry. So I'll just conclude there. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. So, thank you for allowing me to give class to everyone. Hare Krishna.